It's really interesting. I was reading in your in this article about when you went to visit with students and you were saying, hey, people are important. We don't want to hire robots. And that is one of the catchphrases in this community of, it's a KIPP school, which is like a really impressive school that does a lot of really amazing things. One of the things that they say all the time is no robots, which means show up as a person and see the people in front of you and respond to them like they're people as well. I am being joined today by my favorite guest, Mr. Anthony Melchiorri. Hello, sir.
What's up? It's been a long time.
I haven't seen you in so long. I don't think I've seen you this year. I think the last time we talked was like November, which that's a shame. I mean, we talk, but not like this.
Well, I've changed a lot. I grew 4 inches, and as you can see, I have a lot of hair. No, yeah. It's been. I think everybody's in that kind of space where it's like we're all moving, but like we're all kind of still in a zombie trance.
Yes.
We talk about our podcast a lot, and you can just see, you almost see through people. People are just like, yeah, I'm here. Hi, how are you?
Yeah.
I'm really spent. That's what like most people like on our podcast that we talk to people every day, and whether it's a CEO or a general manager or anyone, and it seems like everybody's a little bit in a fog.
Absolutely. And you guys have so for higher education, we're about to be done with our busy season and hopefully over the summer get a little rest. But you guys are about to dive into summer travel.
Well, yes. But what I predicted yesterday on my show, so if you watch my show, which I know you watch it. So,
yes.
Oh no, wait, you didn't see it because we pre-taped it. So it hasn't been shown yesterday. Okay. So it was a different pre-tape. So we're going to be, I think, dropping it today. Right now, I think it's dropping. And anyway, so the question was, what do you think is going to happen in the next 12 months? And
I did see this. I did see this one. This was Ask Anthony episode.
Yeah, when was that? How long ago?
2 hours.
Oh, 2 hours ago. Oh, so it dropped. Oh, that's right. It dropped on the East Coast.
You're in Las Vegas, so you don't know what time it is.
I don't know what that's going on. You're right. So yeah, and so you can hear what I predicted, and I predicted that after September, I think we're the hotel business better pay attention because I think everything that's going on in the stock market and inflation and supply chain and the war and yada 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 yada. I think people, when they call it. Everybody just kind of like the Roaring 20s, right? It was pent up. Well, pent up doesn't stay pent up.
It's not sustainable. Yeah.
Right. So I think we're all a little bit losing our minds, and we're all like, oh my God, look at all this rate we're getting and everything, even though it's not being serviced as well as it should be in some cases because of different issues. And I think September it's going to come home to roost, but hopefully not. And corporate business really isn't back yet. So we're keeping our eyes open, and what we try to do on our podcast is kind of be ahead of the curve.
For sure, it's all very complicated, and there's a lot of forces right at work. So listen, today we're going to talk about something that you have a lot to say about. It's about how to lead for excellence, delivering well-defined and reliable student success services. So I want to get there, but we always do 20 questions, only I do 19.
It's been so long, and I'm
you forgot?
No, I'm jonesing for it. I'm so excited. I got up this morning, looked at my schedule, and like, yes, 20 questions, but we only do 19.
So we're going to do that, and then we'll do State of the Union, and then we'll dive into our topic. So are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. So I haven't talked to you in so long. These questions are a little general. First of all, did you have a good Christmas?
Yes.
Good.
Thank God.
What did you do for New Year's?
What we always do. We stayed home.
Did you have a bunch of family over?
Yeah, about 15, 16 people.
Nice. That's great. Okay. You did the commencement speech in December for Indian State River College. What did you talk about?
I talked about mindset and talked about really the theme of it. No one's coming. Like no one cares and no one's coming. So what are you going to do about that? So what are you going to do about that?
That's great, Anthony. That's how I live my whole life. No one is, no one's coming. That's how I've been successful.
That's why
no
you're
one's coming for you,
successful.
Rachel. Yeah.
That's right. And I said
Love that.
something in the commencement speech that success doesn't come in a box from Amazon Prime. You got to work for it.
True that. You got to work for it. That's great. Okay. Name the last 4 places you traveled.
Oh, Arizona, Florida, Las Vegas, Florida. And in Arkansas.
Nice. Okay. Are you going on vacation this summer?
Yes, no, maybe.
Okay. We'll see. All right, Anthony, the rest of several of these questions come from my travel over the last 6 months. Which is worse in a hotel, a bad bed or a bad shower?
Bad bed. Because you spend 8 to 9 hours in the bed.
Yeah, a bad bed.
A shower, you can work around it, right? Either not take a shower or take a bad shower and it's over. A bad bed, you'll spend 9 hours twisting and turning.
It's terrible. Okay, which is worse in a hotel room, a gross carpet or bad lighting?
Gross carpet. Because a gross carpet makes everything smell.
I know, it's so gross. Okay, what do you do if you check into a hotel and you find that your sheets are dirty?
You call the front desk and you say, please, I'd like to check out of this room, check into another room. And can you please check the sheets for me? Or can you please send up sheets and make my bed because these sheets are dirty? And please check them before you come up. And then I wouldn't ask for a discount because typically I'm there as a friend of a friend. So, but you could certainly ask for a discount on your room because that's disgusting.
Different room or change the room. Yeah.
That's disgusting. That happened to you?
Yeah, it was terrible.
Where'd you stay?
I pulled back the sheets. I don't remember. I pulled back the sheets and there was hair in the bed.
You know what I love about you? You do remember, but you won't politically be incorrect and tell me.
That's true. I'll talk to you later. Okay. Should I travel with a black light?
No.
It's just better not to know, right?
Because if you travel with a black light, you're never going to travel.
I know. I think that's
right?
true. I considered it. Yeah.
Listen, God, I don't travel with a black light. God gave us an immune system, thank God, a lot of us. And, just don't be silly, right? It's like on my couch behind me, like if I'm going to sit on that couch, I'm going to put a towel, even though it's really, really clean. And this hotel is beautiful. I'm at the MGM Grand Sky Loft. My friend Mark hooked me up in this beautiful room, and it's very clean. It looks like it was just shampooed. But anytime I sit on material furniture, I always put a towel.
That's super helpful advice because if you're putting a towel on that couch in that room, everybody should always be putting a towel on every couch in every room.
Yeah, and it's not. It has nothing to do with the hotel. Like this is a 5-star hotel. It's just gorgeous. Be smart. Yeah. It's just not even being smart. I've done it for so long. It's a habit.
Yeah. Okay. Do you have special travel shoes that you wear when you're traveling?
The answer is yes, but I don't travel with them. I haven't traveled with them in the last 6 months because I've decided I don't want to wait for luggage anymore. So I have when I travel with that I bring on the plane, and it has no room for extra anything. So now I just take really, really good socks, like really thick socks, and I wear my socks.
Okay. That's interesting you say that because my next question is, has your luggage ever been lost?
Once, a long time ago, but
that's great.
A long time ago. Where was I? Once. I think I was in Spain.
Ooh, that's tricky. Okay. Is everyday housekeeping at hotels ever coming back?
There's a 2-part answer to this, or let me answer it this way. If it's a resort hotel, if it's a 5-star hotel, if it's a kind of cool hip hotel, boutique hotel, they are doing daily housekeeping in some of those hotels. But if you're talking about the regular regular hotels, the regular branded hotels, whether it be IHG, Marriott, Hilton, I don't see it coming back anytime soon. I see actually eventually in some hotels, not tomorrow, but you're going to start seeing an extra charge to get your room clean. And I know, I hate to even say it because it's embarrassing, but I think that has become such a problem to find labor, that is going to be an issue. So no, but I'm always a person, like right now I have this beautiful room I have a butler, I have all these people, and I just closed my door and I was like, I'll be out in 2 days, and so
Just let me be.
like I was out of my room all day yesterday and I just put do not disturb and nobody came in my room.
Yeah.
So you're going to see that more. It's a problem with those people that go on vacation once a year or once every 2 years because they want the full experience. So I would say just choose appropriately, call the front desk and say, hey, we would like housekeeping services every day. Is that possible?
Okay. That's a good answer. I appreciate that. All right. When is the last time you wore a tuxedo?
The Forbes travel event that's a good question. The Waldorf Astoria, Beverly Hills, a month before the world shut down.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
And if you want to know a funny story about my tuxedo, you should ask me, but we may not have time for it right now.
Okay. All right. If we have time at the end, I will ask you. Do you ever go barefoot in a hotel room?
Zero, except this hotel room, the Skylofts, and the Nomad Hotel, because it's so clean that I absolutely do. The Nomad, I've been doing it for years. I'm kind of new to the Skylofts, so yes, I did.
So,
but nowhere else.
Generally, you should not be going barefoot in our
hotel. No. Especially if you're going to get into bed.
Right. Okay. Do you prefer Uber, Lyft, or taxi, or renting a car, or are you such a big deal that they always just send a car for you?
All of the above. So I'll give you my travel. I'll give you my travel in the last month. Okay. I rented a car in Arkansas. Okay. I took a Lyft in Orlando, and they sent a Rolls Royce for me in Vegas.
Oh my gosh, Anthony, that's so fun.
Yeah, I'll be dropping the Rolls Royce picture later tonight. But cool. So they sent me this beautiful Rolls Royce the other day. So awesome. Depending on where I'm at. So I like Lyfts and Ubers and cabs. In Vegas, you take cabs really everywhere. But I also, like when I was in, where was I? Was I in Arkansas? No. And I was in Texas. I forgot to tell you. I was in Austin, Texas a couple weeks ago. And I had 2 days there. And I didn't have a rental car because of the weather, and they couldn't get me the car. Anyway, so I said, whatever. So I called the rental car. My place, drove 20 minutes in Uber just to get my rental car because I can't stay in a hotel room for more than to sleep or hang out for an hour.
Yeah.
And so I got my I got my rental car, and I went to Terry Black's in Austin, Texas, best barbecue in the world. Okay. The best. And then I saw Joe Rogan at the Vault comedy show.
Oh.
Yeah, the last minute they had one ticket for $20, like in a corner. You couldn't even see anything. You had to look at the video. But it was really cool. I've never been to Austin before. And it was really cool.
Austin is amazing. I'm glad you got to do that.
Yeah, I was there just for a second, but it was fun.
Yeah, fun. Okay, 2 more. Have you ever cried at a movie?
Oh my God, that's the silliest question anyone's ever asked me. I cry getting popcorn.
Okay. Do you know what the last movie you cried at is?
Every movie I've ever seen. Probably some documentary on Delta. I cry. Listen, if I'm in a movie or I'm downstairs and we're all watching television, and the movie comes on, and it could be anything, but it's a little sensitive. This is my whole family. Looking down the road, saying,
on you.
Oh yeah. The other day, my daughter said to her friends, like, he's ridiculous. He was crying in a commercial the other day for insurance. And I was just like, yeah. I cry all the time.
You have a very tender heart, Anthony. I appreciate that.
Well,
okay.
I feel things. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, my last question is, I'm asking for a friend. Okay. What is the appropriate response when a hotel gives you a key and you go up to your room and you open your room and somebody is already in there?
You get a free room. 100%. You go downstairs, really? You say, listen, I just walked in on somebody. Not only is it a security issue, I was embarrassed. They were embarrassed. I could have, if they weren't in the room, I had access to all their things. So I'm not comfortable staying here anymore. So can you please reassure me that I should be comfortable. And by the way, I'm not paying for a hotel room. And it's like, well, I'm sorry, you're going to have to pay for your hotel room. It's like, you know what? Adjust my credit card. I'm leaving.
I gotta go.
That's, it's unfortunately it happens. Unfortunately, it's happened to me where I've done it when I'm running hotels where we've mistakenly given the key out. But there's some things unacceptable. That's one thing that's unacceptable.
It seems like the cardinal sin, right? Like in all the ways that you just mentioned, it seemed really bad.
And if you can unscrew your peephole, that's a cardinal sin.
I saw that. Oh my gosh, you guys, Anthony just posted a video from the outside of a hotel room, unscrewing the peephole so that you can then look into the room.
Yeah, I did it on the
terrifying.
I did it on the Today Show. They put a door up for me in the suite. They on the Today Show, I'm showing Carter and whoever else it was going through the room, like what to look for. And I unscrewed the peephole and they were all like flabbergasted. But what was interesting about that video had 150,000 views in 3 minutes. Literally, it went viral. And I took it down because we did we did it once. And then I said, you know what, get it from this angle too. And so I didn't put the inside back in the peephole. So the thing that you screw it from, there's a cylinder inside. So I said, don't put the cylinder back inside. I'll just kind of make believe I'm unscrewing it again. Because I unscrewed it the right way.
Because you've already done it.
I did it legitimately. But when they edited it, they showed the cylinder was empty. So a couple of people called me out on it. And my social media person said, do not stop it because it's going viral. I was like, nope, take it down. And I took it down. And that would have been probably my most viral video it would have been millions of views. And then once I reposted it the right way, there's only 60,000 views. But a fan said, I noticed what you did. And that's why I love you. And I love following you. Because no one else would have done that. They would have taken... And what I said was, if they were crucifying me because I was short or ugly or I had a bad show, I can deal with that. But you're calling me a liar? I would never do that. That is not. And plus, you're right. That looks set up. You're right. It looks like I faked it. So I'm just going to put the real one instead of explaining it to you. And it cost me probably the biggest viral video I've ever had.
Wow.
But I love that one comment. That one comment was the price of admission for me. That's like, I noticed what you did and I appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure. I appreciate that too, Anthony. People are always talking about how much of your show is staged. And you're like, I'm sorry, what? No, that's not how we roll around here.
Actually, as I get older, I get probably more cranky about that question, about that answer. Because as I get like older, I realized just how intense that show was.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, that was 19 questions. Thank you for playing with me. Appreciate it. Got to leverage some of your hotel know-how today. I want to do State of the Union. I have a lot of articles for us to go through, but I'm going to go through them pretty quickly. First of all, I want you to know that a school we serve, Roxbury Community College, they had Robert Hale Jr., who's the co-owner of the Boston Celtics, as their commencement speaker. And he gave each of the 150 graduates $1,000 as a graduation present. He said, keep $500 and then give $500 to somebody that you want to give that money to, which I love.
Wow. When I did my commencement speech, I didn't do that.
Oh, that's okay. There was a lot more students, right?
I give out hugs.
You're like, you may take pictures with me. But I just love that as a model of being like, hey, we want to be close to you. We want to invest in you.
Listen, the Cosmopolitan Hotel out here, they just sold and they gave each employee $5,000.
Wow.
It's a big deal. Awesome. It's getting a lot of buzz in the industry. And which I think it's great and fantastic and wonderful, but it's like also like, why not? You guys made billions of dollars. It's like, that's such a simple gesture.
For sure. I love that too. You guys, I want to tell you, there's an article in the New York Times that you should read. It's called My College Students Are Not Okay. Anthony, exactly to your point of how everybody is feeling. So Matt and I have been visiting campuses and everybody is like, hey, our students are not doing well. They're not showing up. They have test anxiety. They're not being successful in their classes. Basically, this article says, hey, students have gotten out of the habit of coming to class And it's not a way for them to be successful. So not only are they missing in-person instruction, but they're not having these sort of collisions with their faculty so that faculty can say, come and do this research with me, or, I want to write a recommendation for you for this piece of, this job that you want. And it's really interesting because they highlight the University of Dallas, which is a smaller school that in March of 2020 sent their students home, but then they brought them straight back in fall. So they only had kind of a long summer. And this school was saying, as a result of the school's decision, the students didn't have time to develop these habits of disengagement like so many students at Zoom U did. And they're doing a great job. They're really invested and working well. And so the article's outcome is that professors have to make rules that say students have to come to class and we have high expectations, because that's how you help students thrive.
You know what? As you're talking, and at the end, I got so excited that you just said that, because I was busting at the seams to say expectations. You have to set the expectations to the student, to the parent, saying they will be coming to class. And if there is a problem for COVID or anything else, they won't come to class.
Right.
Just like we say they can't come to class, we will say they will come to class. And I'm kind of at the end of this because my daughters were in school most of the time. And then at the end, they weren't. And then my daughter was working at the market. Now she's working at an event planner and she's home 2 days a week. And I saw like the end that if my daughters went through this for 4 years of college or 3 years of college, or with all the, and again, they missed a real serious technology hit, whereas now it's just like everybody's on TikTok for 5 hours, 10 hours a day. So I saw what it did to them a little bit. So I couldn't imagine, and they're very social people. I couldn't imagine if my kids were growing up this way in high school and college. And you have to set the expectation. You have to set it. I have a niece that didn't want to go back to school, and they said, no, you have to come back to the classroom. And I was like, how is it? She goes, it's all right. But it makes her get up and brush your teeth and leave the house and function as a human being. When I was staying home for all that time, I was like, I have to leave the house. And once I started leaving the house, I was fine.
Yeah, that's right. I think there's something about, you just need a push to say like, no, this is what we're doing now. And we have that expectation. And then it helps you to kind of regulate. But students are out of practice. And listen, when I was a college student, if I could have opted into just staying in my room and taking naps and hanging out all the time, I totally would have done it. But that's not how life goes.
That is literally just like hanging out at the club at 3 o'clock in the morning is, designed to destroy you. Staying in your room by yourself and doing your homework and doing, video games it's just as strong a drug as what you're going to find in the club at 3 o'clock in the morning. Yeah. It's not good for you.
I totally agree with you. There's another great article about a new book called A Problem of Fit. It's written by Philip Levine, who's an economics professor at Wesley College. You guys, this is such an interesting book because basically this author is like, I'm an economist. I started saving for college for my kids when they were born. Now they're about 12 or 13, and I was trying to decide if I'd saved enough money. So I looked to see if I was eligible for financial aid. So I'm trying to understand like what's the price of college and all of that. And he said, I have a PhD in economics. I'm really good at working with numbers and figuring things out. And I could not figure it out given what colleges were supposed to report. And so this whole book is about how do we understand the price of college? How do we talk to parents about it transparently? How can they make good decisions about what they should be spending? It is just, Matt's son is about to go to college. His oldest son is about to go to college. And so listening to that process that parents are going through to try to understand how much it's actually going to cost them with somebody who's in the industry, who understands how things go and is still super confusing, much less to our average parent. So I think it's going to be a really helpful book for people to read.
Yeah, I think everyone should get that book. And I wish I would have read that book. I will tell you, having 3 girls in college at the same time, private college, was probably one of the most stressful things of my life. Not only because it's just a boatload of money, but because I didn't know what I didn't know.
Right.
I was like, okay, it's due now. What do you mean it's due now? It's like, I paid that. It's like, yeah, but then there's this. It's like, okay, just pay it. And it was so we had a college coach And in the beginning, when we had the college coach, thank God, and I know you do coaching too, right? So I thank God we had them, and it took out the stress from the whole family immediately. So it helped us, but we were able to afford a college coach. They're not cheap.
Yeah, for sure. Well, just thinking about one of the quotes in this article is, if a college, first of all, how do we expect families to be able to pay $15,000, right, to send their students? And that's not a lot of money. But if they don't have it, if they don't have it, what are they supposed to do? Where are they supposed to come up with that cash? And that is not a lot of money compared to what college is costing.
Right, $15,000. I have one daughter that was a semester, right? For the daughter, that was the least expensive of the three schools, and that was a semester for the least expensive daughter. So it was crazy stressful to get through that period, and to map it out. It would have I wish somebody would have said, "Hey, Anthony, this is how you should map it out." The way we went through it was not. I was fortunate, but I could have been in a lot of trouble because I did not realize it was that insanely expensive.
It is insanely expensive. That is true. Also, Anthony, to your point at the beginning of our hour together, inflation is impacting tuition prices. So colleges are being squeezed in the same way that so many of our households are. They're having to pay more money for goods and services like food and utilities and healthcare and other essentials. Also having to increase wages for their faculty and support staff. And that increase in tuition that we're seeing across lots of different institutions is not enough really to mitigate the inflation effects. So you're also seeing reductions in other areas, which, listen, for higher education, we're coming out of 2 years where we've made reduction after reduction after reduction. So now we're talking about really cutting into some really valuable things that our schools provide. Boston University just said that they're going to do a 4.5% increase in tuition. University of Virginia approved an 8.4% increase in tuition. And then also we're having some conversation about how governmental policies to forgive student loans are actually really difficult for future college students, because if you have somebody who's choosing how much money they're going to spend at a college, they're inclined to spend more if they believe that in the future their loans are going to be forgiven. So it takes off some pressure from institutions to keep the prices down, because people are like, oh, it's probably going to be forgiven in the future. I can just pay more money. So there's a lot going on with the cost of education, what's happening with the economy, and how higher education institutions are going to answer that. So to your point, it's super complicated.
And yeah, it's unfortunately, I don't like to depend on the government, but they're going to have to fix this problem, because in all aspects, and I talked about it on my podcast that you heard 2 hours ago, that this isn't like, oh, okay, this will figure itself out. There's got to be policy to figure this out, because there's nothing you can control with the goods and services being what's going on in the pipeline. You can't control the world. I was saying, like, even in Beijing, I think it was Beijing, I mean, they shut down forever, right? So now all of a sudden, all those problems, 70% of the goods and services from China come out of that area, and they were shut down for months. So it's exasperating the situation.
It's very, very complicated, all of the pieces that go into that. So we're just going to have to keep watching that. But have you been following, you and I talked before about the what is it, NIL compensation the NCAA is doing for athletes. Mm-hmm. Did you hear, so a bill coming out of California would require public and private colleges in the state to create revenue sharing agreements to pay their athletes. They have to set up degree completion funds for players who would then be able to access up to $25,000 a year. The colleges will calculate how much to put in those funds by taking half of the revenue earned from every sport and then splitting it among the athletes and then subtracting like sports scholarships. So you have your bank account that the school says, we make X amount from your sport. There's 10 of you. So we're going to divide this money among you. And if you complete your degree, you can cash out. You can get the rest of the money. So going to be really interesting to see what happens there. A really big question is that male athletes would receive more money than female athletes because male athletes make more money, obviously revenue, which puts then schools in danger of being out of compliance of Title IX, which says they will spend the same amount of money for both athletes. So it's just really complicated, but I'm so happy to see that athletes are going to get some compensation for all of the money that they're bringing to institutions.
Yeah, the thing that is wonderful, and I think that's long overdue. I'm just afraid of colleges cutting out programs.
Yeah.
Because of this, and there's like, we're not making enough money, we got to cut it. Now, a female athlete and having 3 daughters and the biggest advocate of women in the world, I understand that if the football program is making $500 million and the women's soccer program is making $100 million, that those young ladies will get less money. That makes sense to me because it's a business, right?
Right.
So you can't pay the quarterback, if he's making X amount of dollars because they're generating $500 million, but the goalie is only generating whatever. So I am okay with that simply because that's just the world, right? That's just business. If you're running, a Tesla or you're running a coffee shop, it's just the economics are different. As long as it's fair based on economics, but I am concerned that a lot of colleges will start cutting teams.
Well, this is what happens always is unintended consequences, right? Like we make this little change, the NCAA does, and then you just see this ripple effect in all different places.
Yeah,
so,
but I am sick and tired, and it's literally, it's been a tragedy in front of our eyes since I'm a kid, of all these coaches and all these programs making hundreds of millions of dollars and pretending, well, they're college kids, we don't want to corrupt them. Are you kidding me? The one thing I saw recently, and I can't remember who said it, but it was a professional sports person, retired, and he said, yes, we're giving them money, but there has to be somebody helping them manage that money, and there's got to be somebody literally, like there's got to be a mentor with each one of these kids. And
I totally agree with you.
So it almost has to be in the trust. It's like, here's the money, but like you don't have free access to this money to just blow it.
I mean,
because at 18, you have no control over.
That's right. This is the problem with even professional athletes. Then in their first year, when they're making millions of dollars, they spend it all, right? And you're like, you have 7 years to play, and then that's the money that you're going to have.
Yeah,
so
but I think that they've gotten out a little bit under control. A lot of the leagues have gotten out of control, but you can't give a college athlete who's getting all the celebrity, a couple $100,000 and expect him to manage that well.
No, absolutely. All right, Anthony, that is the State of the Union. Thank you for joining me for that. Lots of things going on, lots of things to keep our eyes on. So I want to talk today, like I said, about how to lead for excellence, something that you know a lot about. I want to start with, so we're going to talk about how you both define what you're providing for students and then make sure that you're delivering that reliably. But I was daydreaming this morning about doing Campus Impossible with you. And how fun it would be to just go to a campus. When I was listening to your podcast this morning, you were talking about how you go to a hotel and you just walk around and look and see what's happening at the hotel. And I was wondering, if you think about Campus Impossible, like you go to a campus, what are you looking for to try to figure out what's broken and where they're not doing a good job? And what are you looking for in that case?
When I walk in?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just when you're spending the day on the campus, like what are the things that you're like, here are the places that we need to address? How would you assess that?
What are the things that people are not always conscious of? So you're saying when I walk on the campus or the hotel, like, what am I looking at? I'm like, I did this with Glenn last night. I'm like, see that? And he goes, what? I go, see that? He goes, I go, you wouldn't have seen that, right? And he goes, what? I go, that. And it was like marks on a garbage can. He goes, no. He goes, I wouldn't care about that. I was like, then you don't care about everything.
Right.
So,
yeah. So it's like all the little things.
100%.
And you were saying too, this idea of it's not so much like as you're looking at processes, like how are we coming to a conclusion? How are we delivering service to our students, right? it's not always about the thing. It's about the process around that particular thing, right? Which I think
it's always the process. It's always the process. Everything is a process. Why can McDonald's be so successful throughout the world? It's always the process.
Yeah. Because they figured out how to make a hamburger, but how to do it in a way that it would be fast and reliable and you would know what you're getting every time, right?
100%.
Yeah. So as we think about this idea of like a well-defined process, so we have to first be able to articulate what are we trying to accomplish? And then we have to be able to deliver that in a reliable way. And in this book, The Culture Code, which you guys know I've been talking about, we're almost at the end of it. We're in our second to the last chapter. They talk about well-defined for a process is dependent on a culture broadcaster. And that means that you have somebody who's in the middle of that process who is constantly broadcasting what is true about what we're trying to do. And I was thinking, Anthony, one of the things that you are so good at is broadcasting culture. And you tend to do it in these really short catchphrases. So I'm thinking about, I found this article from when you were in Atlantic City at the Stockton University a couple of years ago, like 4 or 5 years ago. And you're talking to the students and the way you're broadcasting culture to them is in these like digestible sentences. So you say, be a 5-star person, even if you're working in a 3-star hotel, right? That's a great example of like, there's this depth to it. It's broader than what you're just saying, but it's digestible. It's rememberable. Like somebody is going to be able to come back and say, I remember that Anthony said this. You also said leadership is contagious, which I love. Great principle of saying, here's the kind of culture that we're going to live in. You also said, don't talk about your goals, just be quiet and do it. Don't talk about it, be about it. So why is it that you communicate in these like digestible, understandable catchphrases how did you learn to do that?
I'm not that smart. So I need to make sure that things are pretty digestible to me. I remember, and most people do, if you remember one thing from a conference, then the conference person has done their job. And so I just think that way. I just think, get to the point. Like, what's the point? Like, I'm a very impatient person. It's like, I just want the point. Just tell me this, like, how do I solve that issue? Yeah. And also, as social as I am and everything, I'm really friggin' private. And I just don't like really telling too much about myself. So, even my philosophies, it's like, because nobody really wants to hear people ramble, and I'm not very succinct to begin with. So I just find it just comes out. We call them, my wife calls them Anthonyisms.
Yeah,
it's just a natural thing.
They're so powerful because, first of all, they're sticky, so people remember them, right? They're like. And also, it's the tip of the iceberg. It is a really succinct way to communicate a really broad idea. And this book is saying that it's so important because we have in our teams and in our culture on a campus or in a hotel or in a family or wherever, we have these really simple rules that we make sticky and we talk about all the time that then like stimulate this really complex set of behaviors that benefit our employees or our students or the people who are staying with us. And so what you're doing when you're delivering, I was thinking about your favorite, go slow to go fast. Right. Like when you deliver that, what you're saying is that then in everyone's brain should kick out this really complicated set of behaviors, right? You're saying, slow down, be thoughtful, lay the foundation, make sure you've done it right, don't skip steps, like all of these things that you're communicating in this very quick phrase that people who have been around you understand the depth of that communication. It's amazing. Good work.
Well, thank you. Well, I don't know how to respond to that. Well, people don't, communicating is the most difficult thing we do, because what I'm talking about right now, what I'm saying right now you're probably, not you, but most people will probably only hear about a very small percentage of what I'm saying. So, and it's not, let's think about me communicating or the words I say or the quotes I say. It's about the way I say it. It's about my enthusiasm. It's about my body language. It's about my hands. It's so people a lot of times get lost in what I'm saying because it's like, I can't take all this energy. So, but they do remember the quote. So it's just, and it's not something I can teach. It's not something I even thought about until you said it. It's just something that's part of who I am and my personality.
Well, it's the ability to distill down this really rich meaning to something that is sticky and something that people will remember, which I really love. And I was thinking about, as we're looking at delivering well-defined processes to our students, I think we have to look around and see which of those catchphrases do we use and how do we continue to remind each other, this is what we're supposed to be doing. This is why we're doing this thing. This is the way we should approach this, because that really is about leadership. It really is about saying, hey, we have this complicated thing ahead of us. This is the way that we're going to approach it and the way we're going to deliver it. So
it's about setting expectations.
Yes, exactly. It's interesting. I was reading in this book that we were talking about, The Culture Code. I don't know if you know this person, Danny Meyer. He's a restaurateur in New York. Do you know him? You do?
Yeah, yeah. And I don't mean to say it this way, but asking a person in New York if they know Danny Meyer is like saying, does somebody know who Donald Trump is? It's
yeah, okay.
Yeah, Danny Meyer is a god in our industry in New York.
Yeah. So this whole chapter is about Danny Meyer. For those of you who don't know him, he's has 25 successful restaurants in Manhattan, which if you think about restaurants in Manhattan and how many of them are created and how many of them survive, he is unbelievably successful at creating restaurants and having them be amazing. And this whole chapter is about how he does such a great job of helping his employees to understand what they're supposed to be delivering and how they're supposed to be delivering it. And I thought about you, Anthony, in this story. So this author went to Danny Meyer and was like, how do you do what you do? And he's like, I'm going to tell you a story. He said, there's a young woman who's moving to New York City from the Midwest. She is at one of our restaurants having dinner with her parents, and her parents are terrified because she's moving to New York. And so they're just anxious about this big city, and is she going to make it, and is it going to be okay, and all of that kind of stuff. And so as they're having dinner, they're having this conversation. And near the end of the dinner, the dad is looking at the menu and he points out a glass of dessert wine. It's $42 a glass. And he says to his daughter, oh my gosh, it is so expensive to live in New York. And the waiter hears the dad say this, and he goes and gets this bottle of dessert wine and brings 3 glasses. And he says, hey, you guys, this is a really famous wine. We're so happy you came tonight. I really want for you to try this on us, and pours them 3 glasses. And then the book says a small explosion of surprise and delight ensues. And Danny Meyer says, this task of, first of all, the waiter has to be alert to the dynamic between the excited girl and her worried parents, and has to notice the father's comment about the wine, and has to connect it to an idea, and has to be empowered to spend the restaurant's money, and then deliver that gesture with grace. Those are very simple things, but when they're all connected to this idea of, he talks about collecting the dots and connecting the dots. That is his phrase for what this waiter did to then ease the parents' stress, make the daughter feel like she has a home here. That short communication is a way that all of his waiters understand what their priorities are, right? And it's really similar to a lot of the communication.
An explosion of delight and surprise is the standard for what hotels and restaurants should be trying to achieve.
Yeah. And I was thinking with families in higher education, I think we have a similar thing. So there's some other business things that we have to do, but a really big piece of hospitality and what we say in higher education, which is community, is how do we help a person to feel like they really belong? We care about them. We see them. We want them to be well taken care of. On so many of our campuses, the phrase would be, we walk you to the place. So like a student comes in and they're like, I don't know where the blah, blah, blah is. And instead of being like, okay, go that way and turn left, you just say, hey, come with me. I'll show you where that is. Right. But we're looking for these little places to give them surprise and delight and make them feel like this is a community that's going to care for you, and support you.
Absolutely.
Matt,
I think it's everything, and he does it really well.
Yeah, he's really amazing. And Matt just let me know that said, part of where we're looking for this is when families are anxious. So that's a powerful place in that restaurant story, because the waiter recognized like, oh, this dad is really worried. We deal with anxious families all the time. And we have to figure out a way to say like, this is a safe place for you to leave your son or daughter. We're going to care for them. We have support in place, right? You have to be able to communicate that really well.
And not only communicate it, show an instant where you've actually done something to impress the family.
Yeah, that's right. So I'm glad you said that, because another really important element of this idea of catchphrases comes from one of your favorite books from Schulte, Excellence Wins. Mm-hmm. And he says that you have to be careful to not have cheap talk. Right? You can't just say like, oh yeah, we're a family here, or, oh yeah, we'll take good care of you, or whatever that is, but that you have to actually have that to be a thing that you are demonstrating, that you are then saying, and look, here's how you know that what we're saying is true. Because it can be actually really insulting when you are saying we're a team, or we're a family, or we're a community, or we're going to take care of you. And yet
I actually can't say the words, we're a family, we have this culture, we're a team. I can't say those words. I just have to demonstrate it. It makes me sick when I'm in a meeting or something and people talk about team and policies and all that. And I walk around their hotel or their business and I'm like, are you absolutely effing kidding me?
Yeah.
It's like, that's such a joke. So yeah, well, I think you have to demonstrate it every day.
For sure. And actually, I think the disservice is it becomes, it's not even a shortcut. It becomes a lie, right? It becomes like, well, we're saying we're a team, so we must be, as opposed to the reality of like, you don't have to say you're a team if you actually behave that way. You don't have to ever mention it, because we just know that's a fact.
Well, so it's it's every day. It's like, our personal relationship, our friendship, and this, what we do together professionally in this business. I'm the same person behind the scenes and you're the same person. And it's everything. I mean, there's too many policy books and too many words in this world, and not enough action.
Yeah, I totally agree.
In businesses. Same thing with colleges. People promise you a dream. I've said it before, and then they take a kid that was out the night before that to 4 o'clock in the morning, and they're the one doing the tour of their building. It's like, what are you doing? You're saying these are your policies. These are your policies. This is what you believe in. And then you're taking a 19-year-old kid that was, or 21-year-old, we'll say was legal. It was drunk off his butt last night. And now at 7 o'clock in the morning, you expect them on a Saturday morning to bring a family who is literally lived their whole life for this moment.
Yeah, that's exactly right. We were talking a couple of weeks ago about how crazy it is to think about the investment that you're making in higher education as a parent, and that your spokesperson then would be a 21-year-old who's going to walk around and tell you about things. If you're not doing a really good job of crafting that message and making sure that they're talking about the reality of your institution, right? I was reading this book about higher education catchphrases, so I wanted to get your response to some of these. It's really interesting. I was reading in your in this article about when you went to visit with students and you were saying, hey, people are important. We don't want to hire robots. And that is one of the catchphrases in this community of, it's a KIPP school, which is like a really impressive school that does a lot of really amazing things. One of the things that they say all the time is no robots, which means show up as a person and see the people in front of you and respond to them like they're people as well. It's such a great way to say we have to do that connect piece with our people before we try to solve any problems, right? I also love the phrase that they use in the school, which is, if a teammate needs help, we give it. And if we need help, we ask for it. So these little catchphrases are how we are teaching each other how to respond to students, and how we're looking at each other's behavior and knowing whether or not that's living up to the standard that we expect. And I was wondering for our listeners, so I don't know if for those of you who joined us, if anything comes to mind right off the bat, but one of the action items I think we have to focus on are what are the catchphrases that we say all the time as we're trying to provide this service to students and these processes to students, and how do they actually tie to our behavior? Because it's like you said, one thing to be saying these things all the time, but if you are not tying them to behavior, you're going to be in trouble.
Yeah, and we've talked about this before, but the one thing that every organization can do and every business can do is hold everybody accountable for saying good morning, good afternoon, good evening, hello, how are you? When you're passing them in the hallway, when you're passing them in the classroom. Like, it is absolutely out of control right now where people are not looking at you. I was just at my favorite hotel in the city of Vegas, 5-star hotel, and it was a guy who's, is obviously security, but not like a regular security guard. Like, you could tell this person was probably special forces and now is kind of like this elite, security officer for this major 5-star hotel. I walked in the door and he didn't even look at me. Now, what does it take that? Now, I appreciate the security. I appreciate that guy looks like he can beat up everybody that's going to try to hurt me. But all he had to do was smile and say good morning. So I don't remember all his training and his, like I was afraid of him. Like, I was like, this guy could beat me up. And I want to come into a hotel knowing there's somebody at the front door that can take care of me.
Right.
But you're not saying good morning, like, dismissed everything.
So don't you think that's interesting that it's like, I mean, as we were talking about, everybody's out of practice with being with each other. And so maybe it's not super complicated. Like, you don't have to come up with the best sticky catchphrase for how you're delivering service. I mean, if you just say, like, I will see and greet every student that I come in contact with, that's a great start. We're out of practice.
It's not only that, that's only the start. That's the start, the middle, and the end. That's it. People want to be recognized. That's it. It's simple. Yeah. It's simple. I'm kind of sick and tired of my whole career saying it. It's just like, man, it's like when I take over, everybody knows I'm in the room, right? When I take over a business, everybody knows I'm in the room. Why do they know I'm in the room? Because I'm paying attention to everything. Right. Me and Glenn were saying the other day, my OCD and all the ADD, whatever I have, it's getting worse as I get older. And I'm more like kind of aware and intense and, and I don't know why I have, the eye that I have or the intensity that I have, but it's helped me be authentic, that people understand. You may not like me. A lot of, some people like me, some people don't like me. It's just the way it is.
You, Anthony, what is wrong with them?
Well, when I'm running a business or I'm on a show or whatever, I'm going to hold you accountable, but I'm nice. I'm a nice person. But not everybody likes that. But everybody needs that. Everybody wants to know. Even the person that's trying to hide from you, they want to know you're paying attention to that. It's like your kids don't want to be bothered with you until you don't bother with them.
Right. Right. That is the truth. That is absolutely the truth.
I don't call my daughter one of my daughters in 24 hours. And they're like, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, we talked yesterday. He's like, yeah, but you didn't text me this morning. So, I'm sorry, I missed it. And vice versa. But when I'm up your butt, about this, that, and the other thing, or just saying good morning, it's like, Dad, I'm busy today. You texted me all day. It's like, okay. And then you go 24 hours. So people want to be recognized, but they have to be recognized in an authentic way. It's like if you're saying, like when I fly Delta, I love Delta, but when somebody says, thank you for being a Diamond member, there's two ways of saying it. Thank you, Mr. Melchiorri, for being a Diamond member. And handing back my phone or my boarding pass, or, you're a Diamond member. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Without your business and people like you, we can't fly, whatever. That's never been said to me. Yeah. But like I would appreciate somebody having a personal message to me.
Yeah, for sure. So I think that's a great place for our action item to say, how do you build in, in this book, they talk about collisions. How do you build in collisions with your students and with parents and with other people so that you can be present with them and greet them and see them and make sure that they're okay? The last thing that I want to talk about that I knew that you would have something to say about is in this book, Danny Meyer talks about what happens when a mistake happens. So we're talking about reliability, right? And so he says, when I see a mistake in my restaurant, I pay attention because a good interaction after a mistake means that there's an increase in energy. Like somebody in the dining room drops something and then people come and they clean it up and then they leave. And that is a good mistake because it means we've trained our people that when something happens and we have to recover, you expend energy and then it's over. And he says a bad interaction after a mistake is when people are either decreased in energy, so they're disinterested, like, okay, I guess I have to go clean this up now or whatever, or when they're angry with their teammates because this thing happened. He's like, when you see those two things coming out of a mistake, it is not a good culture. It is not a culture of care. It's a culture of disinterest, distrust, and frustration. Like you are not being thoughtful.
If you read nothing else in your life or you hear nothing else in your life in business, just remember that. Just put that in a box, put that in a gold case, mount it on your wall, get security guards to guard it. Just remember that. That is it. I mean, there's nothing I can add to that. That is just absolutely incredibly perfect. What I won't add to that, but I will give you an example. When you're in a restaurant and there's a waiter that passes your table that's not your waiter and doesn't like give you a new napkin or give you water or take a dirty dish. But then you've been in those restaurants where you see another waiter come over and say, oh, let me get that for you. Let me pour another orange juice. Would you like another Coke? We've seen both of those interactions. Which one feels better? It's that simple, right? And that's that's a teamwork, that's team effort kind of team. Like we saw it in sports. In the basketball team this year, it exploded. It imploded. And they all went home and they were all like, all right, I'm done. And we saw it. And it was simply because for some reason, whether it be the coach or the leader, didn't keep that team together. It's the same thing. It's like, I love when I see my waiters work together. It's fantastic.
Yeah, because it is that, I mean, that's the culture that we are on a team and we are trying to accomplish something really significant. And so being able to say when there's a mistake, we respond with energy instead of responding with anger or lack of energy, which I will tell you, doesn't seem difficult, but the number of times that there is a mistake, sometimes a significant mistake, and a person responds with a lack of energy or disinterest or anger or whatever is shocking to me. It doesn't seem like it's that hard to be like, I'm sorry that happened. Let me make that right for you. But few and far between.
We need a cultural shift. We really do. We need to be able to. We didn't see this whole thing with social media and just completely disengage us as humans, as a team. And we need to do something. And I don't know if it's in the classroom or if it's at work, but we need to go back to just seeing each other.
Yeah.
And if we do nothing else in the next decade of just trying to see each other's point of view, if not, I don't know what we've become. I really don't know what we've become. It's scary.
It's just so fundamental to human connection and community to be able to see the person you're next to, right? And have some empathy and understanding for where they are. So I agree with you. You guys, I think the action items coming out of this are, first of all, to be thinking in your office, what are your rules that you have? And not just the ones that you articulate, but like, if we could say these are catchphrases that we believe in, what are those things? And identifying whether those are just things you say or they're things that you can point to and say, here's the behaviors that support that issue. And then also, I really love the idea of thinking about on your campus, who is a cultural broadcaster? So who are the people like Anthony who can say a thing in a succinct way that make it stick, that everybody understands, and that is creating these rules for the way that we engage with each other and see each other and have, community together? I think it's a really important question to ask. And I like asking it now because you have the summer to really think about that so that in the fall, you can have the right catchphrases and storytelling and beacons to be able to support you. So that's awesome. Anthony, we should do Campus Impossible. Let's go to a campus.
Let's do it, man.
If I get a campus to volunteer, we'll go and we'll do a little.
Somebody said to me, and I would love to, but it's somebody said to me, I'd rather do a secret shop that nobody knows it's me, because somebody said to me, well, what I find really, I think it was my producer, who's Joe manager. She said, I really like when my friends come and, take over my hotel for a day, and I take over their hotel and I tell them the problems. It's like never in a day would I let anybody take over my hotel. and do that. And I would never want to do it to your hotel for two reasons. One, I'm not going to be honest. I'm not telling my friend, like, because there's one thing of saying, hey, just so you know, the window wasn't cleaned or that. But to come in and say, your culture here sucks, I'm never going to say that.
It's a total wreck around here.
I'm never going to say that. So if you want me to come in blind and nobody knows that I'm the person behind the report, I'll do it. But if I'm coming in and like, I'll come in and do it nice, like, oh, you should maybe look at that. But if somebody really wants my opinion, just be ready for it, because I'm going to give it to them.
I think that's good. We can put you in a disguise. You did that one time. You did.
Yes. I did it in Myrtle Beach, and I did it against my will. They drugged me.
They put you in a wig, and you look like a trucker, right?
Yes. And my producer apparently is watching this, and she said she has excellent ideas. I guess this is live.
For sure. All right, Anthony. Well, thank you for joining me. Hey, next week, I think you're joining me again next week. Next week is our 50th episode. So that's super exciting, and happens to be somebody's birthday, not mine.
Somebody's 57th birthday.
That's exciting. Are you doing something fun?
Hopefully living to see 57.
Okay. Well, I will start off next week with a happy birthday song for you. How about that?
Well, thank you. Yeah, I know I'm not a big birthday person. I've never been a big birthday person. I'm I just want everybody to be happy. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll make our audience promise that next Tuesday we will all be happy for you as a birthday present.
When people try to sing me happy birthday in a restaurant, I don't know if I told you this last year. We were in a restaurant somewhere, it was a couple of years ago, and people went to sing me happy birthday. I'll never forget my feeling of complete, and I'm so disappointed in myself, complete and utter anger, because I hate it.
Yeah,
I hate it. No, but like, it was a visceral reaction. It's like, I was like, don't sing me happy birthday. And then I caught myself. My wife looked at me. I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry. No, that's fine."
I didn't mean to yell, but really, don't do it.
Like it was it was like guttural. It's like I don't want it. I have to sit there for 30 seconds while everybody stares at me and sings, and everybody in the restaurant who doesn't know me and doesn't give a shit about me excuse my language, is singing me happy birthday. It's my least favorite thing. I appreciate it, but I'm learning to be a little bit more gracious if somebody does sing me happy birthday in a restaurant.
Well, I think that you and I have that in common, because I'm like, if anybody really loves me, do not tell anybody in the restaurant it is my birthday. That's none of their business, and I do not want to talk about it.
Exactly. I just don't want. I'm not. Again, I'm not. I know it's hard to believe, but I'm not an attention guy. So
yeah. Yep. Yeah. I know that about you. All right, friends. So good to see you. I'll see you next week. Have fun in Las Vegas.
I'll be gone in 2 hours, but thank you.
Oh, all right. Well, have fun for the next 2 hours. See you.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Bye, everyone. Thank you. It's always a pleasure.